welcome to the Daily Scripture Podcast. My name is Jerome Lavelle, and I hope that you are having a marvelous day today. Today we will be looking at Matthew chapter 23, verses 23 through 26. Jesus said, "Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You pay tithes of mint and dill and cumin, and have neglected the weightier things of the law, judgment and mercy and fidelity. But these you should have done without neglecting the others. Blind guides who strain out the gnat and swallow the camel. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You cleanse the outside of cup and dish, but inside they are full of plunder and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, cleanse first the inside of the cup, so that the outside also may be clean." Today, in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 23, verses 23 through 26, we hear Jesus teaching on perspective and hypocrisy. Throughout the Gospels, Jesus uses the communities of the Pharisees, the scribes, and the Sadducees to point out wrong thinking and wrongdoing. Today, we see another example of him doing exactly that. In Jesus' first point in this passage, he accuses the Pharisees and the scribes, whose theology promoted strict interpretation and practices of the law given in the Torah. He accuses them of missing the forest for the trees. He asserts that by focusing on every small element of the law, such as paying tithes of mint and dill and cumin, that they miss the important and substantial elements of the law that are important in people's lives, such as judgment, mercy, and fidelity. I think that Jesus is telling them, and he's telling us today, to keep our priorities aligned with those things that really matter in this life. 1 Corinthians 13:13 tells us that in the end, but three things remain: faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. Jesus is pretty strong and graphic when he calls the Pharisees and scribes blind guides. Can you imagine him saying that? Blind guides? He's implying that they are leading without knowing, that their guidance is not grounded. He further tells them that they strain out the gnat and swallow the camel. What a powerful visual image this creates. Indeed, in his first point, Jesus challenges the scribes and the Pharisees of his day, and he challenges us today to rethink priorities. Jesus' second point in our scripture passage today is on the concept of hypocrisy. In other words, of saying one thing but doing another. Of standing on one set of principles but living out another set. Here I think Jesus is accusing the scribes and Pharisees of worrying about their social standing, their fancy robes and gowns, and protecting their images rather than being, at their core, true men of God. He says, "You cleanse the outside of cup and dish, but inside they are full of plunder and self-indulgence." In a like manner, we hear in Matthew 23:27, Jesus saying, "You are like whitewashed tombs, which appear beautiful on the outside, but inside are full of dead men's bones and every kind of filth." Here Jesus is clearly challenging them to rethink what they do versus what they say. I hear Jesus challenging me in the same way. Jesus indeed came to bring good news to the world, and he tells us that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. But he also tells us that he has come to bring judgment to the world, that the blind may see. Today I hear Jesus asking all of us about our priorities and our hypocrisies in living the Christian life that he calls us all to. Thank you for joining the Daily Scripture Podcast. My name is Jerome Lavelle, and remember, our word today is Jesus' words on priorities and hypocrisies. Until next time, be well and be blessed.